Good morning.
I thought you were in a parking lot.
Well, they let me use one of the offices up here. Wasn't that nice?
Yes, and I don't usually put my video on because I distract myself. So
Oh, okay.
if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Well, Audra, you're a little heroine.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have a different attitude about it this year. Instead of asking for it, I think we need to start demanding it because it's someone's civil rights, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on record,
Okay.
and we're going to just talk about this, okay?
Okay.
You and Max's Law.
Okay.
Recording in progress. Listeners, we've got Audra Beasley on the line with us, and I forgot to tell you, Regina Bogar mentioned her when we interviewed her last week about the adult changing stations, and Audra is the person who started Max's Law, which we talked about, and I've heard about for about 2 years now, Audra?
Yes, we started. It was introduced in 2020 with Representative Mickey Dolenz.
Yeah. A hero.
A hero.
So,
he's amazing.
Yeah, so Audra, I've looked around on your Facebook page, and then there's Oklahoma Changing Stations, Advocates for Max's Law, that all of my listeners needs to get on and find out all
join
this
the group.
information.
Join the conversation. What? They need to join the group and join the conversation.
That's right, and talk to the legislators because this has got to happen. It's too late. It's already too late, right?
It is. It is too late.
I've been a provider of services to people with different abilities for over 30 years, and I've always had a passion for it, and I applaud you parents. You just don't know. And that's the thing, Audra. People don't know, and so I'm glad you're on the show to tell us what we don't know.
Right. Well, I'm here. I'm here in the Oliver Hodge building, sitting in someone's office.
What's the Oliver Hodge building?
So this is where the Joy Hoffmeister's office is here. The Sooner Start office is where the Sooner Start offices meet for their meetings. If you don't know what Sooner Start is, it's where the Department of Health and the Department of Education come together under. It's actually a requirement under the IDA, and every state.
Individuals with Disabilities Act.
Every state has a interagency coordinating council, and we serve the children birth to 3 years old born in the state with disabilities. It provides resources and support for families, education, and it was part of my process through this with Max when he was really little, of just being exposed to what his rights are, and that along with other things that happened. In my background, I'm a paralegal by trade, and so it interests me to study up on his rights, and him being directed to the bathroom floor and our only somewhat private or safe places we resort to our car, which so many people do, and oftentimes without even thinking, why am I doing this? Why should I be doing this? We have, adult size changing tables have been around for years. And then I started diving deeper into, I went out to the airport one day, and our friend Trey Parker, they do this turf. He did this turf business stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I was out there. They put turf down for the service animal relief area." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And we have federal laws protecting service animals in our airports. It's called the Service Animal Relief Act, and all airports have a place reserved for service animals. But when I took Max out, and that's when Karen Carney was out there, I asked her. I said, there's federal regulations in this building that for an animal that my son doesn't have such a thing out here. Y'all can just direct him to the floor, or a bench out in public, or there's not a restroom access for him here. She didn't like that very much, and she's the one that got the ball started out at the airport. But
that's super.
Yeah. Diving into this, it's so much bigger than my son and his access at the Capitol or whatever. It is a societal issue. That. It goes all the way from our city level. You see it. There's change to be had at all levels.
Well, I'm kind of shocked, but Audra, let's just go into the fact that your son Max is how old?
He's 5.
5, and he's got spinal bifida.
He was born with spina bifida, which is a spinal cord injury at birth, basically, that he has a hole in his S2 vertebrae. And then that caused hydrocephalus. So he has a brain shunt, and he has what's called Arnold-Chiari malformation, which is where the tonsils of his cerebellum are pulled down a little bit into his spinal canal. And he doesn't have any issues from that so far, but it can cause headaches and balance issues. But yeah, he utilizes a walker and a wheelchair, and he has AFOs and SMOs on his feet to help with contractures. And he has muscle function, but his muscle weakness, he has a lot of muscle weakness in his lower extremities, so he can't stand on his own.
So that's why
yes.
he cannot
get
himself to the toilet.
Right, and his his nerve damage affected his bowels. He has what's called neurogenic bowel, and he's on a bowel management program every day, but still his brain does not connect to his bowels, and he has what's called a trabeculated bladder, and that means, when your bladder gets full and you feel the urge to go pee, that muscle that you feel, well, that muscle is just constantly, his brain is telling his bladder, you're full, you're full, you're full. So his amazing doctor, Dr. Frimberger, his urologist over at Oklahoma Children's, he gave him some medicine, and he's got a real big, healthy bladder, but he has to be catheterized every 4 hours to make sure that he has bladder and kidney health. And without being able to stand and all of these, he's gonna, we're working towards rehabilitation, but for now, he weighs 76 pounds. And I pulled, this time last year, I pulled a groin muscle, and that healed after about 6 weeks, and then shortly after that I pulled the other side, and I thought, well, this is ridiculous, I'm not strong enough, and I need to get strong. And so I've been on this journey over the last year to get strong so I can lift him more. But
well, let me just say that I have been looking on your Facebook page, and you do look remarkable right now. I can tell the difference.
Well, thank you. I'm working hard at it.
Yeah, good job. But Audra, parents, you're talking about this really big issue of going out into the community to use a restroom, whether he is able to use his bowels or anything independently. But if he's using a diaper or something, you still, and I think my listeners don't want Max to sit in soil for a long period of time. So when you have to catheterize him or change him, you're looking at doing it in your car. It's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Rain,
I don't know.
Rain, 32-degree weather. Yeah, heat. When we went on a road trip out to California, 2019, and we had to stop along the way, and we were in Arizona, I think, and it was July, and it was hot. It was so hot. I told Ty, I said, I've never changed him on the floor in a bathroom, only one time, and that's the last time I'd ever do it. But we were, I had Wesley. Wesley is my now 9-year-old, and he was little at the time, so he went into the bathroom with me in the accessible stall, and I had him on the potty, and I put Max on the floor. And there was these women in there, and my husband and oldest son were outside. They'd gone into the men's restroom, and I've got 3 boys. They'd gone into the men's restroom and came out, and as these 2 women were leaving, they had mentioned that how gross it was that I had my child on the floor in there.
How gross it was that you did that?
Yes. And my oldest son, who was 9 at the time, and my husband heard that, and they knew exactly who they were talking about.
But honestly,
so my husband, of course he told me when I came out, and I didn't know while I was in there that they had seen his feet sticking out under the stall or whatever. But to hear that, I've let it mess with my heart for a long time on that trip. And we ended up changing him in the back of the van, or changed him in a park bench out in Sausalito, California. They have the best fish tacos. But no, I changed him on a park bench with people walking by, because that was the only place where we'd have to walk back like 8 blocks to our car. And I thought, this is real dumb.
Maybe people just need to see that, because look at women started nursing in public, and now we've got these beautiful nursing rooms everywhere.
That's right.
And so I guess changing our differently abled people in the community will help us get some privacy, perhaps.
Yeah, but you know, he's going to be 6 years
That's weird.
old, and my 9-year-old. I try to think of what Max will think like when he's 9, because Max doesn't have a cognitive delay at all. He just has physical limitations, and I try to imagine him being 9 years old, me doing this to him in the car.
It's embarrassing.
He won't like it right now. He doesn't. He's starting to pick up on his differences. He's in kindergarten at John Rex Charter Elementary School, heart of downtown Oakland City. He's the first one to attend that school with wheels. It's the seventh year of the school. Yeah. And he's given everybody an opportunity to grow a little. Anyway, it's good. It's but yeah, he's gonna, you know, whenever he's in 3rd grade, he's not gonna want to be naked in a car. And then how does that affect our family and how we get around and go places? If we're on vacation, you know, then I've got to say, well, this is all we've got, instead of just being able to stop by a visitor station or stop by, you know, as I'm driving down to, we just went to Corpus Christi, driving down to Texas, we'd pass the Texas State Capitol, you know. I would get off the highway if I knew there was a table in that building. I would go 20 minutes out of my way, go visit the beautiful state capitol of Texas, and have a private, safe, and appropriate place for my son to go to the restroom. Any parent in my situation would do that.
Speaking of state capitals, Audra, duct tape on the changing table in Oklahoma State Capitol.
Yeah, Senator Treat fighting that real hard, isn't he? Spending money on attorney's fees fighting that. I want to know why. We need to start asking them for account. Like, why are you fighting it?
Wait, explain this. What's going on?
Well,
Senator fighting the changing tables in the Capitol?
So, in the 2020 session, Max's Law had a lot of support. And, you know, if you know, the Capitol just went under, we just had this huge renovation, right? For years. Well, it was wrapped up, and the bill states that the bathroom would be renovated after like a $10,000 renovation or whatever. And I thought, well, we just got through renovating this building. How am I going to trigger that to get them to put one in the Capitol? Because no one was doing it on their own. No one was saying, you know, like the OKC Convention Center, the city has responded amazingly. Keith Wilkinson, the ADA coordinator of the city, Tom Anderson. I've got to meet the most incredible people along this way, but I've never had anyone tell me a pushback to this except for our legislators. And I think they've been, you know, I have my own perspective here, but we had support until I filed my ADA grievance. Shortly after the bill passed the House, like 10 days later, I filed an ADA grievance, and so I said, hey, when Max is here, what are we going to do about this now? What's a temporary accommodation? And what's a long-term plan? We might as well go with what this bill says, right? All support just stopped. They didn't like the fact that I filed an ADA grievance. In fact, nobody even responded to that one. By federal law, they have 14 days to respond. Nobody even answered I sent them both wheelies. I sent both ADA coordinators wheelies too.
Wow.
No one responded.
And wheelies are little cars.
Little cars, Mattel. It all started, I was at Walmart one day and I saw them in the toy department and Max was with me and I thought, well, how cool is this? So I bought like 5 of them or whatever. I bought all the ones that were there because I just thought it was a really cool toy. Well, I had an extra one, and after I met with Representative Dollins, he just jumped right on it and was really supportive and gave me a lot of hope that day. I remember running up to the Capitol in the rain after this lecture that I had just been to, and it was really cold and rainy that day, and I just wanted to give him that wheelie and a thank you card for taking time to talk to me. And he took that. I said, hey, I wrote him a card and said, hey, anytime you're on the House floor and there's a issue of accessibility that comes across your desk, I hope you think of the people that this little wheelie represents. Anyway,
wow, that's a good one. After
time where he was like, we need to find one for everybody, and so he encouraged me to try to find, 150 of them. I wanted to give one to the governor and Pinnell too. And anyway, that seemed like such an undertaking because you got to go into Walmart's and they weren't really on Amazon yet or whatever, and so over time people just started mailing me them. I got them from Canada, I got them from all over this country.
That's
saying this is so
great.
cool. I found this at Walmart and I wanted you to have it or whatever. And then Mattel got word of it and they mailed me 100 of them with a note.
Oh my goodness.
Said that please pass this along. We support your efforts and we think it's amazing or whatever. They were really cool.
Wow.
I still have. It's crazy. I still have the little boxes from Mattel in my garage, and now I've got like 1,000 of them. They're stacked up in these Target diaper boxes all the way to my ceiling almost. I have over 1,000 wheelies in the garage.
Tell my listeners what we need to do, and we'll get on it.
Well, now I use them as advocacy tools. So I've sent most all the leaders in Oklahoma City have a wheelie. If I consider them a leader in this state, I've mailed them a wheelie.
It's a big deal to get a wheelie from
I'll
you.
have to mail you one. I'll mail you one. You have to send me your address.
Really?
Yeah, I'll get you one. I'll send you some, and you can. Hey, how about I send you like 50 of them, and you can start pushing them in Tulsa. That would be great.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. And since I talked to Regina, I'm very curious about the Discovery Lab because honestly, they have a beautiful changing room in there, and I thought, well, they were really nice to her about it. But when you're building something, let's just start training people to think right now about us.
I have some exciting news to report. Recently, Woven Life and the Children's Rehabilitation Hospital over in Bethany. It's Nico Gomez is over there, but that was one of the first places that Mickey Dollins and I visited, and we went to go talk to Albert Gray at the time. And anyway, the Children's Rehabilitation Hospital is getting 2 tables, one in the men's restroom and the women's restroom, and I'd reached out to St. Francis way, way, way long ago. And you know how they responded to me? Most leaders will say, well, I want you to tell me more about this. I don't like the idea of our visitors being on the floor. That's something I've never thought about, but can you come talk to me about it? That's how most people respond, right?
Yeah.
But St. Francis responded that they are in compliance with the ADA. That's it.
That's my hospital in Tulsa.
And they don't have. From what I understand, is that they do not have a table. They might have accommodations now that I don't know about, but I'd really like to know because of the Oklahoma Children's Hospital and the Children's Rehabilitation Hospital. They're being the leaders, and I think other hospitals should look at that. Integris. There's a picture of a little boy. His name is Connor, and I really love his parents, his mama. And there's a picture of him on the floor in the bathroom at Baptist Hospital.
Oh my.
And we're in a hospital. You would think that someone, even if you got an accommodation to say, hey, I want you to come to this room where there's a table in a private area, there's a sink, no one,
That should be a no-brainer, Audra.
It should be, but we just don't think, if no one's bringing the conversation to the table to talk about it, and if you're not ever exposed to this problem, how do you know to fix it? So we have to be, I love Margaret Wheatley's quote of, be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. And not only have that conversation, but carry it forward to the tables where decision making is being made. We need to be talking about this. It's called toilet taboo. I've called it toilet taboo. We don't want to talk about what we do in the restroom. Makes people real uncomfortable.
Have you seen those new women's commercials? They're about women poop.
No.
I can't. I don't know.
You got to send it to me.
I will. I'll send you the link because there's people on toilets even. Yes, women poop, it says.
Oh my gosh, just find it and post it to the group so everyone can see it. I wish more people would engage in that group too. They see me, and I do know there's a lot of families that don't want to come out and talk about it because they want to protect their loved ones' privacy. And I understand that, and that's a huge, I went to go listen to Oliver Brown's daughter speak, History Speaks, Monday night at Oklahoma Christian University, and one of the last nuggets she left with us was the night of, she remembers being in middle school studying the Supreme Court case of Brown versus Board of Education, and to be in a classroom full of people discuss her daddy's role in that case and how it affected her family. I've got children. Max is going to grow up and he's going to be exposed to all this one day. He's going to know that because of his difference, it empowered so many Oklahomans.
And because
but
of his mom helping.
it's also I'm sacrificing his privacy in the middle of it. And those legislators, they need to think of him because he has a voice this year too. I can't wait for the day I can bring him up to the Capitol. I want to do it on a day where I know that he's going to get a lot of support and help. And I think it's coming. So.
Well, we at the Hidden Workforce are on your team, and whatever we can do to help, we're going to. So.
The library and the Almonte Library on the south side of Oklahoma City, when those builds are done, they'll have tables. So it's all about catching these new builds and these major renovations. You know, why we shouldn't be waiting. This should be an issue, but before the Tulsa City Council. In fact, the Oklahoma City Building Code Commission will hear a proposal to amend what a family restroom is defined as for Oklahoma City to include one per building. If the building is required to have a family restroom, that family restroom will be required to have a table. Just one in a building. It's
I love
huge.
this. This makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Audra.
Yeah.
Audra Beasley, thank you for being on the Hidden Workforce. Give us your contact information and how we can support this movement.
Okay. My cell phone number is 405-474-8464. And my email address is docprep, DOCPREP, at A, D as in dog, B as in boy, ADB, paralegal.com. And you can find our group on Facebook. I'm not on any other social media. I really don't like social media. But if someone would like to take over an Instagram account, I would love some help with social media. If that's your thing and you want to do Twitter, Instagram, whatever, I would love to have someone say, hey, I'll do this and I'll champion it and you can just run it.
Okay.
But our Facebook is OK Changing Stations. There's a page. And then there's also a group, OK Changing Stations, Advocates for Max's Law. And I also have a foundation. There's 8 board members, Taiwan and Camila Miller, and Catherine and Brian Picard, and Gary and Luli Van Kuren, and my husband and I all are board members. And it's called the Foundation for Equitable Access. And that work is where we're going into, like, to help the Science Museum. We're collaborating with other nonprofits to help just direct some funds to get some work on the city level until some big change can be made. So
you found an issue and you are taking it to the limit.
I
love
am.
This.
I love it. I love what I'm doing. I've met some amazing people along the way, and it feels good to give back. It feels really good to give back.
Well, I think that Max is just going to be proud of you and grateful. I feel like he's not going to be ashamed of any of this later.
Well, not ashamed, but
feeling.
I worry, and everyone tells me that too. It's like, oh, he's going to be so proud. And I'm like, well, yes, that's our goal. Fremberger a long time ago told us that if we treat his differences as normal and not ever treat him any different, that he'll grow up not thinking he's any different. He just does things differently. So.
Well, I wish the rest of the world would feel that way.
Well, we need to be focusing on diversity training and disability etiquette and awareness training in our boards. When we have these businesses that have continuing education, and anytime you have an opportunity to educate people, when you're sitting around a table, I think it's focusing on disability etiquette and awareness. Just having a chit chat about it around a table would do a lot of good. And also talking about it in our schools, you know. We spend a lot of time focusing on differences, but I don't know if the disability community is represented very well in our schools, and it would be a great thing to just say, hey, people do things differently, and these are some of the reasons why. Explain CP, explain spina bifida, explain spectrum disorder, you know, so we can talk about it and normalize it. Some people don't even know how to talk to Max. You know, they pat him on his head, or you know, they get behind him and just push him in his chair or his walker.
And then yell. And they yell because he's sitting in a wheelchair that he can't hear.
Yeah.
Right?
We just, if parents aren't aware to have those conversations in the home, you know, maybe the school can step in and say, you know, our school, John Rex has been amazing. But they've also got to grow with, my son Gabe was the first one to attend that school the inaugural year, so they went, you know, you get to know people, and we're like a big family. They got to know me while I was pregnant with him, and I remember thinking, gosh, is he even going to be able to come to this school? And I didn't even know, I didn't even know his federal rights at that time. And, but now I do, and it's empowering. Yeah.
Well, thank you, and I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. I'm so thankful that you asked me to chat today, and I'm hoping that we can get some word out in the Tulsa area. The Ark of Oklahoma, Lisa Turner and Dina Drabeck over there have been amazing. I don't know if you're connected with them. I'm sure you are.
I am a little bit, but I'll work with them some more on this issue.
Yes. There's so many groups that it's going to take a collaborative effort of everybody. That's what I'm asking for from our legislature, to please just come around and have the conversation, and invite me and other people to the table, and that's how great work is done. So
yeah, so you're even willing to come up here to Tulsa if need be?
I would drive to Tulsa anytime. I love coming to Tulsa.
Very good. And so we need to invite you to come talk to some people. We'll have that on our list. And also, I'd love to have you back, Audra, in the middle of the session, kind of to give us an update on where the bill is. And, especially, please contact me if you need to get on the show. Even just because what I do is I have a 3-minute intro and 2 8-minute segments is how the show works.
Okay.
So I can always, push out there to go and contact your legislators, just put a blip in. I can even make a commercial. That would be
great.
Because FM 105.7 is a Bloomberg news station, and the guy who owns it is really cool, and he runs my radio commercials all throughout the day at different times. So if I tell him that this is urgent, he might help. He could help us a little more too.
Oh, great. That's great.
When it's time, we can do that.
Okay. Sounds good.
And we're getting more traction. I think we're, I've been doing it almost a year, so we're getting more listeners, more people in. So
awesome.
And Regina is going to run this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. In the link, is there a link that you could share with me once it runs?
Yes, it'll get on. It should come out on Thursday or Friday on Facebook. It'll come out on Facebook.
Okay. Will you tag me in it? Or will you send it
to you?
Oh, good.
Yeah, I will.
Good.
I'll do it too. I'll do it now because I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Florida for a couple of days. My girlfriend has a condo down there, and we're going to go visit her.
That sounds fun. Yeah. Okay, we'll have a really good time.
Well, enjoy your meeting, and thanks for taking the time.
Okay.
I'm going to let you go because I know you've got to get on there.
Okay. And, contact me anytime.
You'll hear from me later today.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.